arrest warrant issued for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu by the ICC. The International Criminal Court (ICC) in The Hague has issued an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his defense minister, and several Hamas military leaders. This decision marks a historic precedent, being the second time the ICC has targeted a sitting head of state following its issuance of a warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin. The warrant is based on allegations of crimes against humanity, including the targeting of civilians and violations of international law in the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict. Allegations against Netanyahu. Netanyahu, as the leader of Israel, is accused of endorsing and overseeing actions during the military operations in Gaza that have caused widespread civilian casualties. The ICC's warrant also implicates members of his cabinet and military leaders from Hamas, signaling a broad investigation into all parties involved in the recent escalation of violence. The charges include crimes against humanity, for actions targeting civilian populations, including bombings in densely populated areas, violations of international humanitarian law, for alleged blockades, sieges, and disproportionate use of force, failure to protect civilians. As a state leader, Netanyahu is being held accountable for policies that allegedly led to widespread harm to innocent people. Reactions from Israel and the international community. The Israeli government has outright rejected the ICC's jurisdiction and the validity of the arrest warrant. Israel is not a signatory to the Rome Statute, the treaty establishing the ICC, and argues that the court has no authority over its actions. In a defiant statement, Netanyahu called the accusations baseless and accused the ICC of bias against Israel. On the other hand, the warrant sends a powerful signal to the global community. Any nation that is a signatory to the Rome Statute is obligated to arrest Netanyahu and extradite him to The Hague if he enters their territory. This effectively limits his travel to non-signatory states, significantly constraining his diplomatic movements. Hamas leaders also targeted. The warrant is not one-sided. Hamas military leaders face accusations of war crimes, including indiscriminate rocket fire on civilian areas in Israel. This balanced approach demonstrates the ICC's intent to hold all parties accountable for actions that violate international law, irrespective of political alignments, a step toward accountability. The ICC's decision, while contentious, represents a bold move toward enforcing international accountability. It sends a clear message that no leader is above the law, and that even those in positions of great power must consider the legal and ethical consequences of their actions. However, critics argue that the ICC's enforcement capacity is limited, given its reliance on member states for cooperation. Without a global consensus, such warrants often remain symbolic. For instance, despite the warrant issued against Putin earlier this year, the Russian president continues to travel to allied nations without fear of arrest. What this means for global justice. This unprecedented move by the ICC reinforces its role in pursuing justice for victims of war crimes and crimes against humanity. It also puts the court itself under scrutiny, challenging it to demonstrate impartiality and effectiveness. The arrest warrant for Netanyahu is a significant step in a broader effort to address impunity for state and non-state actors alike. It underscores the need for global leaders to carefully weigh the consequences of their decisions and actions, especially in conflicts that directly impact civilian populations. Broader implications. This decision could have wider-ranging implications for Israel, increased scrutiny and potential diplomatic isolation as its leaders face legal challenges on the global stage. For Palestine, the move might provide a sense of justice for some Palestinians, but could also escalate tensions. For the ICC, a test of its ability to enforce decisions and its commitment to impartiality in addressing global conflicts. While this arrest warrant is far from a resolution, it represents a critical moment in the pursuit of justice and accountability, setting a precedent for holding leaders accountable for their actions under international law.